Welcome to week 3. This is intermediate Spanish. We're going to be talking about adjectives today. We're also going to be working with adverbs. However, I found another video that you can work on with that, and I've got a separate worksheet, and I'll explain that in a second. But let's go through and look at adjectives, what they are, and how they're used in Spanish. Now, an adjective is a word that's used to describe or modify a noun in general. We'll keep that rule as it is for right now, just keeping a nice simple explanation, because that's what we're going to be working with. So when you have an adjective and you have a noun, and you need to put them together because you want to describe something. So instead of saying the telephone, you want to say the black telephone. Instead of just saying the shirt, you want to specify it's the white shirt or the green shirt. So in Spanish, they have adjectives just like they do in English, ways to describe nouns. But there's a few simple rules that you need to keep in mind when you use them. First and foremost, I have a list there of 3. So before we start talking about it, just keep in mind as you're thinking about this, things are different in English, so focus on that and try to think of how you would say these things in English. Sometimes it can kind of help because you'll look at order and some of the other things that are going to get changed. So I have a list of 3 key topics that you need to keep in mind. The first one, in the order is backwards with adjectives and nouns and their placement. In English we would say the White House, for example. In Spanish they say the house white, la casa blanca. The girl pretty, la chica bonita, instead of the pretty girl, la chica bonita. The building tall, el edificio alto. So thinking about it backwards in English. The test easy, el examen fácil. These are how they're placed in Spanish. Now this is the majority of the time, I'd say maybe 90%. Once you learn how to actually manage Spanish a little bit, you can play around with that some. I'd also like to and then we'll move on to number 2. You have to match the gender with the adjective when it ends in O. I have a list of adjectives to the right, and if you look right down that list, a lot of them end in O. So that means that you need to try to match up the gender with whatever it is that you're doing when it ends in O. Every noun in Spanish is male or female. It has nothing to do with guys using it versus girls using it. It's just that way. It's always been that way. So, and it doesn't change. So, if it's a male, if it's a masculine, then you can leave the adjective as it is if it ends in O. So for the first one, pequeño, which means small. If you look at the list, you just leave it with an O if you're going to attach it to something that's masculine, like the book, el libro. And you could say el libro pequeño, the small book. Normal, fine, no big deal. But if it's feminine, for example, la mesa, which is the table, and you wanted to say the small table, you have to say la mesa pequeña, and you have to change that O to an A. Example I wrote down here, blanco is white, casa is house, which is feminine. So instead of saying la casa blanco, you have to say la casa blanca and change that O to an A. That's only with your adjectives that you're looking at that end in O. Number 3 that we need to go over. You have to match up the plurality of the noun as well with the adjective, regardless of its ending. Doesn't matter if it ends in an O or an E, whatever, masculine, feminine, none of that matters. So, for example, the white houses. When we pluralize something, we just pluralize the noun, the white houses, and we take houses and we add an S and boom, we're done. In Spanish, that adjective has to be pluralized as well. So you would say the whites houses, almost, las casas blancas, and you have to pluralize it. A few examples just to show you what that looks like with just the basic order more than anything. La computadora blanca, the white computer. El examen corto, the short exam. El último día, the last day. El hombre bajo, the short man. La casa sucia, the dirty house. El testigo tranquilo, the calm witness. El juez bonito, the pretty judge. I don't know. Anyways, I had a few attorneys that are in class, so tried to pick out a few ones that I thought they'd find kind of humorous. Anyways, so looking at the list of adjectives on the right, you should see that on your CD that you're listening to during the week. Hopefully you're listening to your CD. I know you're probably getting sick of my voice, but listening to that and getting to repeat those can really help, and it's easier to repeat them in the car when nobody's watching. So make sure you go through those. Now for your activity for this week, for the adjectives, I'm asking you, and I attached a sheet regardless, but pretty much just to find 8 things around you. They can be masculine, feminine, plural. You'll have to use your dictionary and look some things up. But I want you just to describe 8 things that you see around you on a daily basis. If you have a desk and there's a coffee maker, maybe there's a mouse, a phone, computer, anything like that, and describe it. The black computer, la computadora negra, anything like that. And just come up with 8 of them and describe them so that you can think about that. In the future when you look at that, hopefully that'll help you to remember, maybe you've got a favorite green pen that you always use, that you keep. So you can say la pluma verde, and you can always keep it with you. Maybe you have multiple and you want to make it more than one. Las plumas verdes. Okay, so fill out that sheet or even just respond to me in an email describing 8 things around you. There will be a video along with this that's regarding adverbs. Watch that video. It doesn't necessarily to relate completely to the worksheet, but it will help you out with it. And then there's a worksheet that's just more of a matching, and it's not even something I need you to turn in. I just want you to look at it and start looking at what adverbs are and how to use them. We're not going to focus on it a lot, but just kind of wanted to remind you what they look like. So that's it for this week. We shortened stuff up a tiny bit this week, and I know we're going towards the end. We have a couple of students that are falling behind, so struggling to keep up a little bit. So I'm trying to slow things down to a tiny bit. We may end up going past 8 weeks, but we will get through all the information. I guarantee you. We're just finding an adequate pace for all the students to make sure that everybody's able to keep up. Nobody falls behind. So if you have any questions on anything, feel free to email me. And other than that, we will see you next week.